Ladies and gentlemen, it's your humble host, Tom Moore, here with Consequence of Sound's Rock It Out blog. I've got Mr. Marky Ramone and Mr. Andrew W.K. here with me. We're here to celebrate Marky Ramone's Blitzkrieg, which has been storming the nation. Can you just tell us a little bit about how Blitzkrieg got its start? And I understand that Michael Graves performed with you.
Michael was with me for a while, and he decided to do an acoustic tour. Andrew was suggested to me by a friend of ours, a mutual friend named Steve Lewis. And he was interested and gave him the list of the songs, and he loved them, and he does it his way, and it worked, it gelled. So we rehearsed, and this is the result, and we've been to about 12 different countries already.
Andrew, I'd like to turn the mic to you for a moment. Tell me a little bit about what it feels like to get on stage and to sing some of those classics and to, be part of, I guess, the new installment of the Ramones.
I'm glad that you put it that way, because the actual singing of the songs is the most enjoyable part. I mean, the whole process that we went through, the challenges that I went through to learn the songs, to memorize, 35 songs. Now, a lot of them I was familiar with, like so many folks, but to really, embody them and have them memorized by heart, that was a different type of process. But no matter what, just the actual experience of being on stage with Marky on the drums and singing those songs at that volume, with that intensity, with the crowd there, there's really nothing like it. It's I look forward to it from the moment that the show ends. We played in Philly the night before last, and I'm already thinking about how excited I was to get here to Chicago to do it again. You just don't want it to end. And these songs they're living, breathing things, and they take over. They take over. When that music kicks in, I'm just a slave to that feeling.
It's 2013. A lot of me, Johnny, and Joey decided to retire the band in '96. So now there's a whole new generation of Ramones fans that didn't see us. So now they have an opportunity to at least hear the songs done properly. And I didn't want any Ramone clones. I wanted people who could play the music properly, but deliver it their way, like Andrew does.
I was on your website, and I saw a track list or a set list rather, from, I'm not sure what show it was, but, and I'm sure you deviate somewhat, but how did you pick the songs? I mean, you have so many great ones. How did you decide? I don't know if this is a good one for Andrew as well.
This is a Marky question.
All right.
I have 400 high-8 videos of Ramone shows. I look back at a lot of them, and I see what the best reactions are to the songs. So then I compile the list, and we do have other choices. But since this is the first time we played here, we're just going to stick to the usual list, and then alternate eventually. But that's how I did it. I would just see the reaction of the fans and see which ones went over the best at this moment.
Both of you have been on so many different stages, and I'd like to hear both of your input on this. Some will say that punk has died. I do not believe so. I think that if these songs exist and they can be sang and by the people who wrote them and by the fans who listen to them, I think that it lives on in some sort of way. And how different does it feel to be playing in 2013?
Well, punk's more alive than ever. I mean, you have bands like Rancid, Green Day, I'm Still Kicking, you got Riverboat Gamblers, you got The Gallows. There's so many great bands. When we travel the world, we see it. We see the numbers. I just played Rock in Rio, and there was 250,000 people, not just for me, but you could see all the punk fans there in Russia. I mean, who knew? China, Spain, Italy, France. So, I could say metal is dead. But, it isn't. I mean, Ozzy's on tour and everything and whatever. But, it depends what genre you like. You know what I mean? I mean, hardcore, you could say hardcore is dead. But it isn't to the people who like that kind of music.
Well, like Marky said, nothing's dead. It's like a tree. The tree is growing. There's deep roots, and there's a big, strong trunk. And there's a lot of branches, a lot of limbs, and they keep going. They keep blossoming, and they keep spreading and pollinating. And we didn't get into music for a certain moment in time. We got into music because it feels good, and as long as it still feels good, it'll keep going. With that being said, also I think punk, that particular idea, is very mysterious and very hard to pin down, very hard to define. And in a way, I think it never even existed. I don't think it ever was alive at all to begin with. I think the very spirit of it is that it's a bit, intangible. And that's a part of what makes it exciting.
I understand that both of you are working on books. How's that going for you?
It's a pain in the ass. I've been working on it for 4 years already. I'm writing it myself, but obviously you have to have somebody there with you, coaching you on a few things, because I'm not an English major. But, skeletons come out of the closet, and you got to do it properly. You have to be really honest and factual, and that's what this book's about. I just got the transcript, and let me tell you, if you get it transcribed and it isn't the way that you're supposed to sound and the facts aren't straight, you got to change them. So I'm going over 400 pages of things, and it can be tedious, But it's everything. The punk scene in New York, CBGB's, Markys, Kansas City, my time with the Ramones, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, the Grammy, the 1,700 shows I did with the Ramones. There's just so much stuff that you have to include it. And that's when you have to realize you got to stop, because there's always more. But you have to get to that point and say, okay, that's it. It has to come out.
How do you feel about that CBGB movie that's being made?
I saw the trailer. It was very amateurish, and I couldn't stop laughing. It was pretty bad.
Andrew, I understand you're working on a party Bible of sorts?
Simon & Schuster allowed me to write it, basically. And there was a lot of publishing companies that were working very hard to keep me from writing a book, but then Simon & Schuster silenced all them and fought back and said, no, he should be able to write a book, and then they actually took it upon themselves to publish it. So I'm working on it, and it's about partying. It's not really about me. Or my life. It's not a memoir. I would like to live a little bit longer, before I write that kind of book. But this is just about, taking life and trying to have some fun with it. And, it's a collaborative effort between me and everyone else who's ever lived. And, hopefully it's enjoyable for folks to read and to party unto itself.
Just out of questions, but there was one thing that's been, I don't want to say haunting me for my entire life, but it's certainly played a major role in the man that sits before you today. Kindergarten. I don't know how old I was, 5 maybe at the time. And I was trying to impress a lady. I had a red M&M, and I stuck it up my nose thinking, look at me, I got an M&M in my nose. Somehow, through the hilarity, it kind of got up there. I couldn't get it out. It disappeared within my sinuses, and I went, oh no, this is the end. This has got to be the end. The mortified teacher rushes me to the sink and thinking I have a nosebleed. And I thought, who better to ask than the nosebleed king himself? Since I did it in the name of love, is that party?
Oh, absolutely. And I've never gotten an M&M nosebleed. If you got chocolate up there, that's a whole nother level. I've only gotten it from injury and things like that, rupturing the blood vessels and whatnot. But you were very hardcore, and I was very impressed with that story. Just to imagine that the way you would want to impress anyone, let alone a lady, would be to put a red M&M up your nose. That's hardcore.
Where did the M&M go?
I think it just dissolved. I think that's why I'm so sweet. I think I got a little sugar on the brain. Anything else that you'd like to say?
Yeah, I have a show on Sirius XM called the Punk Rock Blitzkrieg on Faction Channel 41, and that's all I play is punk. It's going on its 9th year. So anybody interested, check it out. It goes through all the states in the country, and it is the biggest punk rock show in America. So if there's any out there, but it definitely I play new school, middle school, old school punk, and that's it. So if you have Sirius XM, check it out.
Anything from you?
Just keep partying.
We'll do just that. All you fine folks out there, rock it out, and
Hey ho, let's go.
Let's do it.
Hey ho, Chicago.